Hey guys, it's Allyssa LaScala here from Fit with Bliss, and as promised, I'm going to be talking to you guys tonight about leaky gut. So I know that especially within the last several months, I've been hearing this term being thrown around more and more often. I myself became familiar with it probably about 2 years ago when I started going to see my holistic MD, and the more and more I talk about it with people, the more I realize that they're not as familiar with it. And so for any of you guys that are watching live, or if you're watching this later as a recording, I'm trying to figure out how many people really know what leaky gut is. So even if you don't know exactly what the definition is, if you're listening to this, write in the comments, I have. Tell me that you have heard of leaky gut before, even if you're not too familiar with it. I'm very curious to know how many of you guys actually know or are familiar with the term what leaky gut is. So tonight I'm going to go over with you what some of the signs and the symptoms are of leaky gut if you're sitting there wondering exactly what it is, and then what some of the causes of it are, and then how you can go about, Gary, Allison, I know that you and I have talked about that a couple of times, but I'm going to go about telling you what you can do to take the steps moving forward. So if you haven't heard of leaky gut before, I'm not surprised, because the thing is, even though our doctors can be very educated in, multiple fields, the gut, even though it is our second brain, and I've talked about that a million times, the gut is something that, even though it's like the largest system in the body, that they don't have as much education on. So when it comes to your doctor discussing leaky gut with you, or even telling you how to go about treating it, if it's not something that they're very well versed in, if they don't feel too safe about it, they're going to be more likely to write you a prescription. They're going to be more likely to, say, oh, go get some Prevacid, or, someone that's having gut issues, they tell them here's some Miralax. I've kind of talked about this before when I was talking about probiotics, but it's incredible how many times, people don't really hear this stuff until you just start talking to someone that's more on the holistic side. And it's really just like jibber jabber between other people. It's not necessarily like a Western medicine doctor that's going to say, hey, you have it. Hey, Jen, thanks for joining. So what I want to go over with you guys first is the typical symptoms that you'll find when it comes to leaky gut. So the first thing is food sensitivity. So anyone that is, you find that you're extremely sensitive to eggs or peanuts, or, I have 56 different foods that actually came back from my food tolerance test that I'm supposedly intolerant to. Gluten is a huge one. Different things like that. Looking at IBD or IBS, so irritable bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome. People that have Crohn's, about 10 to 20% of them are found to be diagnosed with leaky gut. Any type of autoimmune diseases, any type of thyroid issue, malabsorption or vitamin deficiencies, people that have a malabsorption of B12, and people that have a deficiency in magnesium. Those are two that are very highly correlated with leaky gut. Skin conditions, anything that's like an inflammatory skin condition, acne, psoriasis, known to be linked to leaky gut, and then mood issues or like autism. So it's actually been directly correlated to any type of neurocognitive disorder. So for example, when you have leaky gut, when you have permeability, and I'm going to kind of describe it more to you guys in a second, when you have that, your body actually releases this inflammatory response and releases these things called cytokines and other chemicals in your body, and they actually induce depression. So guys, those are just some examples of the things that you're probably sitting there and you have at least one of them. So if you're not too familiar with what leaky gut is, and without making your eyes roll back in your head of boredom, I'm going to make it very simple for you and put it in layman's terms. If you guys aren't familiar with permeability, or what that word means, the ability for something to seep through, leaky gut is basically your intestinal hyperpermeability. So stuff's not really supposed to be able to go through this gut barrier. It's not supposed to be able to leak from your gut into your bloodstream and the other parts of your body. However, that is what happens. You have these really tight junctions that all of a sudden become loose, and toxins and food particles literally leak through your gut. So leaky gut is just the best way to think about it, is that anything that's in your gut now has the ability to permeate through there. So you have to think about, all the toxins and the waste that's going through your gut that's supposed to stay there now gets leaked into your bloodstream. Food particles, literally like partly digested protein, partly digested fat, getting leaked. And my dog is literally peeing on my chair right in front of me right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. So anyway, for any of you that know Howie, you know that this is notorious for him, but of course it's on a Facebook Live. So maybe he has some gut issues we need to figure out. However, but those of you who, have those types of issues, literally you're not even digesting some of that food. It's literally permeating into your bloodstream, and it's leading to all this inflammation and leading to further disease. So you can see why this is an issue. So what are some causes of this? What might you be doing that's making you a little bit more prevalent to having the leaky gut issues? I was wondering that too, because guys, I got diagnosed with leaky gut in 2015. And so I had never heard of it before when I went to my holistic MD and he was telling me about it. And I was like, okay, so, what do I do about this? Or what caused this? Because I was eating pretty well. Like I was eating very clean. I had already done a figure competition and I thought I was really on point with my diet. And so, I found out I had all these food intolerances and, I knew I was already lactose intolerant before, but, I was just like, so what am I doing wrong? Because I feel like I'm taking every step to be right. And he was like, well, it could be poor diet, even though mine was pretty good. That's not the only thing. If you are someone that you feel like you eat pretty healthy, but look at what is in your foods. And I know that everybody is kind of like well versed on like GMOs and whatnot now. Like you hear about genetically modified ingredients and now a bunch of labels, like they'll put a big, bright star spot on the package, making sure that there's no GMOs in there because it's a big selling point now. It's important. But why? Because the different things that affect your gut are the sugar, culture or conventional dairy, GMOs, and then just like a toxic overload to your body. And stress. So I went through, some stress going on with, of course, for the time that I was little. I mean, my parents being divorced, my dad getting diagnosed with cancer when I was 8, and then just having a very type A anxious personality, then going through my Lyme disease and my adrenal fatigue, and just the stresses of life, just being a human in general is stressful. So guys, this stress overload can literally lead to your leaky gut. So on top of that, having the poor diet or having foods that you think are really healthy, but you turn the package over, I realized I was eating this white cheddar popcorn, Smart Pop or whatever, and I turned it over a couple of weeks ago and I saw that it had literally, it doesn't say on the front of the label, but you look in the ingredients and it says genetically modified this, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought that this was good. And it's like, oh, Smart Pop, it looks so, healthy on the front and blah, blah, blah. And it really isn't. So you guys really have to turn it over and look at the ingredients label, because there's a lot of stuff that has GMOs in it that you would never even think about. So those are some things that you guys can take into account, wondering, hey, am I doing anything that's causing it? So if you're wondering how to go about, and by the way, guys, if you have questions, go ahead. I know that I have comments on here, people laughing at the fact that Howie just peed on my chair, blah, blah, blah. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. I know, Hazel, you just said misleading labels on the front. Absolutely. People, it's incredible how, they trick us into thinking that stuff is healthier. Even the commercials, you'll look at something that even just dairy in general, we are taught to think that, you need milk and got milk. And if you guys don't know about the A1 protein that's in milk versus A2 proteins, things like that, it makes a difference whether you're getting, fermented dairy versus this conventional dairy. It really does make a difference. So those types of things, it varies. And if you ever have any specific questions about wondering I wonder if this is good, I don't know how to interpret the label, let me know. I'll be happy to answer it. So you can go ahead and comment. But if you're saying, yeah, you know what, I feel like I'm experiencing a bunch of these different symptoms, and I definitely have a lot of stress, I know I'm not eating too hot, and I've had a great amount of some type of stressful overload in the body, whether it be a chronic disease or you're just exposed to a lot of that type of stuff through your work, whatever it may be. There's several things that you can do. And the first thing I'll say is to try and make sure that you become as conscious as you can about taking those GMOs and whatever out of your body. Guys, I still have a cheat meal. I mean, I still will go and have, Domino's. I'm human, trust me. I mean, as I was just with Lauren the other day and she was like, oh my God, you ate pizza. You're human. I'm like, I know, I am human. I'm being transparent with you guys. Trust me. I do have those types of foods as well, but just trying to be more conscious about it, because those are the little things that are going to end up affecting you. It's different having something that is all natural from the organic aisle, like that white cheddar popcorn versus the white cheddar Smart Pop that I was having. It really does. And if you want good examples or good brands of certain foods that you like and you're like, I don't know if there would be a healthier option, go ahead, write it in the comments and ask. Like, I'm happy to help you, whatever you guys want. And then also looking at making sure that, as you pull those foods out, you're replenishing with better foods that are helping to rebuild your gut. There are multiple things, aloe vera is known to rebuild the gut, making sure that you get things that are like a good probiotic. And I've talked about this a million times before, but making sure you get a probiotic that isn't just like a line that's going to get 97% of the cultures killed off in your stomach acid. They're not going to make the way to your GI tract. Don't pay for expensive pee, please. So making sure that you're getting that good probiotic in there. And then just honestly, guys, being more conscious as well about your mindset and the stress that's around you. Like, you can do all this stuff. Trust me, I've been there. You can do all this stuff, taking the good supplements to be able to restore your gut flora. You can be taking in healthy foods, but if you still have that toxicity in your workplace, at home, and you're not getting yourself into like being conscious about getting rid of that negative energy, being a professional ignorer. I made that video, a couple days ago, making sure that you're taking control of controlling the stress around you. It is huge, because I know when I don't, I literally get stomach pains. Like, I used to get stomach pains so bad that my husband had to actually take me to the ER because I had no idea what was wrong. And I went, and the doctors were like, oh, your potassium's low. No, it was so much more than that. That was before I got, diagnosed with my leaky gut or had any idea what it was. But guys, just know that when you go to the doctor, if you have any type of stomach issue, if you have any of these types of, common symptoms that I'm telling you about that usually stem from leaky gut, don't feel like you can't take matters into your own hands when it comes to taking these steps. Because just because like the doctors don't know everything, or, not every doctor knows everything. We all have our, our niche. We all have our hot zones where, we have a lot of knowledge in, and doesn't mean that you can't take these steps and be able to change this part. So it's becoming more known in the wellness community, in like in the health world, because more studies are being shown now, and doctors are forced to look at it. But take it into your own hands. Now you guys have the knowledge to know if you have any of these common 7 symptoms, if you have these causes such as the bad diet and the GMOs and all this stress, and you're having gut issues, or you feel bloated and you feel like you're 7 months pregnant and you feel like you're doing everything else right, guys, this is a huge thing. And I'm telling you, it made a big difference when I started changing things that were going on in my diet, such as gluten. Like, a lot of glutens and grains, unsprouted grains, actually lead to further inflammation. So just because something says like, oh, 12 grains, whole grains, doesn't necessarily mean like that's the greatest thing. And I know that a lot of commercials and things like that, of 12 grain breads will go and say, yes, of course, this is what you want. Well, they want you to buy their product. So no duh, but start to educate yourself on, maybe you could get something else to replace that, that whole grain food for now. And then you can slowly introduce them back in, but you guys got to cut out the stuff that's causing that inflammation. So if you guys think of any more questions, feel free to post them in there. Feel free to share this with somebody that has belly issues. And thank you guys for joining. If you have any suggestions about a video you may want to hear later this week, any specific topics, post them below. I'm all about serving you guys. So have a good one. Happy Tuesday.